Hello, welcome everyone. It's Thursday, September 21st. It is the Urban Forestry Committee September meeting. It's 4:30 p.m. Pursuant to the Chapter 2 of the Acts of 2023, this meeting is being held remotely. And so here we are. We're doing Zoom. It's a new thing. I mean, we usually do use GoTo, but this is our Zoom attempt. And I think I'd like to start with introductions of our board members, starting with first name alphabetically.
I guess, does that make me first? Yeah.
I think I'm still first for doing first names for one more meeting. I'm Amy. I'm a member of the Urban Forestry Committee. My background is in insect community ecology, interactions between insects, plants, and people in urban spaces. Thank you.
I'm going to interrupt. There's a person that my neighbor is trying to get in, and she says the meeting will start soon. Do you see people in attendance other than who's here?
Yeah, I do. There's three people there, so it
I'll
should have just started for them.
Okay, all right. Chris. Calla.
My name is Calla Taylor. I'm a high school student and a youth member of the committee.
I'm Chris Dwan. I'm a resident local activist, very interested in transparency and accountability.
And I am Dorothy Supit. I think I'm next. Lived in Somerville for many, many years, and my focus, I guess, professionally is in regenerative agriculture, and happen to love trees.
My name is Leah Grossman. I'm a landscape architect and resident of Somerville, and I'm excited about talking about trees with our residents and diversifying the trees and all the plants that we plant in Somerville, and make sure that we are able to maintain and take care of them and get residents excited about doing the same. I think next is Malik.
Oh, could you hear me?
We can.
There
yes.
we go. Perfect. My name is Malik Drayton. I am urban forestry planner, conservation agent, deputy tree warden. My interests usually lies in tree preservation and protection.
I'll go next. I'm Vanessa Bukili, senior urban forestry and landscape planner. One of the staff tree people, dealing with lots of different types of tree things, but one of my main jobs is tree planting. I'm also in charge of this Zoom meeting, so if anyone is having any technical issues, I may or may not be able to address them, but I will do my darndest to try. And I think there's a Q&A feature for that if any of the attendees are having any issues. And Tori, when you're ready, I can promote attendees.
Hi, I am Tori Antonino. I am a co-chair of the Urban Forestry Committee, and I'm an ecological landscaper. And it's pretty stoked right now about all the asters. This is the time this is the bomb for the end of summer, is when the asters start to bloom. It's like, oh, summer's ending, but my God, are they putting on a show right now? So thank you to the asters and the goldenrods for making this end of summer tolerable. Okay. Any housekeeping items? How's our solicitation for our youth member?
So I submitted the posting for 2 general members and 1 youth member to be to go through the advertisement process with our I'm sorry. I barely slept last night and my brain is really turning to mush.
No worries.
Anyways, it should be translated in the next few weeks, and then it has to be posted for 4 weeks. So the process has started, but it is a long and arduous one.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Vanessa. Any other items of housekeeping?
Could I suggest that we try to promote attendees?
Yeah,
Sure.
let's do it.
Okay, so
We don't-
attendees, I'm going to promote you to panelists. I don't know if it'll automatically turn your videos on. I don't think so, but if it does, feel free to turn them back off. This will just give you the ability to be a part of the meeting if you want to. And if you don't want to, I think there's an option where you can just say no, thank you. I'm not sure. My first time running this type of
You're
thing.
doing great.
Thanks.
Okay. I see Renee, I see Anne. Okay. All right. Let's go to resident concerns. How are things in Cobble Hill, Anne?
Well, a member that I think we're still having something has happened to the birds. I can't, I don't understand. We've had a few birds return, but it seems as if the crows are now policing Cobble Hill. And the crows are determining whether or not birds are allowed to come in. It's the only way I know how to describe it. And I'm not sure that I'm right, but that's my observation. It is still much too quiet. I got 2 suggestions of places to contact, and I did. So I may try again. The other thing is that the planning department informed the community council for 90 Washington that it was thinking of setting up a pocket park. And one of the members let us know that this plan was afoot, but we've asked where we are supposed to give feedback. We were able, the person who sent us the information, and I should say that the pocket park, the plan for it is very near, it's at the Cobble Hill end. And the entrance is quite hidden. And we're a little concerned about the safety of that. But most of all, we'd like to know how feedback is given and the activities that are planned and the activities that are planned. And if urban forestry had any space needs, it might be helpful for you to let the planning department know that you have an interest. As you may know, currently the DPW is using the space, and it's very neat and tidy. But if you think that there are any possible uses from your perspective, it would be a great idea to let the planning department know. And that's about all I have.
And thank you. And I'm just wondering, Vanessa, do you know what's happening here? And is it a pop-up park?
Yeah.
Where is this coming from?
I have not heard anything about it, so I have no information. I was just looking at the 90 Washington Summer Voice page to see if that is a place
have-
with information.
I have a drawing that was sent to me by a committee member that I could try to forward to you.
So someone on the 90 Washington Civic Advisory Committee, right? Is that what you mean?
That is correct.
One
They
of those.
sent me the drawing that the planning department gave to them for the pocket park.
So
And-
this must be a planner who's on PSUF.
No, PSUF isn't part of the process right now for 90 Washington. PSUF designs parks, but 90 Washington is a lot more than that. So I know capital projects was involved. I don't know. I think economic development and capital projects.
Yes, that's correct.
Vanessa, could you get us some information for the next meeting? Or if you find anything, like, I mean, somebody's got to know something.
Sure. Yeah, and if you could send me an email with that draft, then I
I'll do
can
that. Yeah, I'll
use
do it.
that as my in.
Yeah.
Okay, thanks.
CC me too, Anne, if you could.
Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah, and just if I may,
Please.
to reassure folks, there's still a big gate on breaking ground at 90 Washington, where the city council would need to approve the bond that we're going to use to pay for construction. And so while things are floating around between the engagement committees and the planning department and everything, I think that it is very unlikely that we will see anything actually approved or done or finalized without it coming back up at least to the city council to approve the budget for it.
Yep. I agree with you. And I also think we're paying consistent close attention and letting them know that there are 300 people who are very well. There are a lot of people who are very concerned about that we're still here.
Thank you, Anne. Any other resident concerns?
If no one else has any, I have two that were emailed to me. So Doris couldn't be here, but she had a resident concern about a neighbor of hers had a tree or tree parts removed, and I'm going to share a different picture. And there is now a brush pile of debris where apparently there's a big rat's nest, and she's wondering what whose responsibility it is to remove this. I don't have any more context than that, so I'm assuming this is a private property tree, in which case her supposition, is that a word, that the private property owner is responsible for that is the case. I believe there is some sort of 311 request about weeds or nuisance stuff. I'm forgetting what the wording is, but that might be 311 may be a good place to report this for anyone who has encounters a similar issue. I will also email that to her. If there's nothing on that, the second resident concern was from Jennifer Clifford. So she couldn't come to the meeting today, but she wanted me to share updates on new and newly found invasive insects, or newly found in new places. So spotted lanternfly, I just received an email about this too today, was found in more areas of Massachusetts, like established populations in Agawam and Southborough, and it's previously been found in Fitchburg, Shrewsbury, Worcester, and Springfield. I will put a link to the chat about that information, but we knew it was coming and it is spreading. So that is unfortunate. There's also 2 pests that I hadn't heard of that she wanted me to tell folks about. The elm zigzag sawfly is a invasive insect from Asia, and it's doesn't look like it's been found around here specifically, but in neighboring states, and then a small forested area of Berkshire and Hampton counties in Massachusetts this year. I will put a link in the chat for that as well. And finally, the third pest is the box. Yes.
Was that Hamden or Hampton, Joni?
Oh, Hampton.
Hampton.
Yes.
Okay.
Hampden.
Okay, Hamden.
Hamden. Sorry. I don't know. Never heard of it before. I got nothing. All right. And the box tree moth has been detected previously in New York, Michigan, and Ohio, and was found in Cape Cod in August. So more invasive pests. Again, I will put another link in the chat. I believe we have a chat. So keep an eye out for invasive insects. That is the news.
Okay. Yeah, brush piles are tricky. Want to say, like, getting our like fireflies back is going to require dead wood. Like, brush piles also keep opossums around, and I understand. I understand the concerns about rats. The fine line.
I
Yeah.
have a quick resident concern. Very, very selfishly, I have a garden plot at the Durrell Community Garden, and we've got a pocket park out front. And the pocket park was unexpectedly very vigorously pruned. I have no problem with this. I think it needed it. It was kind of a mess. None of us can figure out what triggered that pruning. We have a couple of hypotheses. One is that a neighbor put in a 311 request asking them to clean up some of the growth that was starting to impinge onto the sidewalk and walkway. Another is that the garden community put in a request for support with the rats, which were eating our tomatoes. Nobody likes that. And a third possibility was that some group in the city was going through and doing park cleanups. I guess Vanessa and Malik, do you know of which of those is most likely to have triggered early vigorous pruning in a pocket park?
No, I remember DPW doing pruning there a few years ago, so maybe it was just in the cycle. I have no idea.
Okay, like I say, it's totally cool. We're just trying to figure out if we caused it in some way by making one of these requests.
I don't know.
All right, cool.
Good question.
Chris, where is the pocket park?
It is on Beacon Street, just shy of the Star Market, just to the south.
Called Durrell.
Yeah.
It's like combined garden and pocket park.
Thanks.
You are muted, my friend Tori.
Yeah, a neighbor, there's a tree that's down in Prospect Hill Park, just a small one, and it's pretty evident that the base of it was like all corroded from dog urine, I'm guessing. Like, and there's a lot of those trees at Prospect Hill Park that have it's like they go in and then they go out, and it's just like, it's pretty sure it's dog urine. So I mean, can we just put a little cage around them? I feel like we put in these trees and they cost a lot of money, and I guess dogs like to go on things, and if we just had like a cage, or there must be someone invented something like tree flare protection gear.
Good idea. Little cage. Is
Yeah.
it stained white at all?
Oh, I don't have the picture.
I'm just wondering, the other thing that can cause sort of decay at the base is like mowers and either
Yeah,
words
so
escape me. Weed whackers
weed
or
whackers.
actual- yeah.
So some sort of flare protection for
Yeah, a
dogs,
cage would help that too. Mhm.
weed whackers, people who kick things, you know.
Is it mostly the trees along the street?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Um,
yeah.
Yeah, there's pretty standard like tree guards. If you think of like, yeah, like ornate iron ones that go up probably like 4 feet. And then there's definitely smaller ones you can get to. But yeah, I think
You-
that
even maybe something basic like I think we have extra wire from the pilot project,
mhm.
don't we?
Oh.
Like maybe just making a little fence.
Yeah, or doing
Yes.
yeah, a guard around the tree pit. Yeah, this is something we talked about a while back, and we thought about putting together a committee on dog activity control. Um, but yeah, it's a big challenging problem. But yeah, I think proposing little tree guards or little tree fences would be a good move.
Yeah, I volunteer to do a couple at Prospect Hill. If there's caging, I'll come get it. I'll recruit some of my neighbors. Well, that's not, I have wire cutters. I don't, doesn't have to be brain surgery. Okay, all
I'll
right.
let you
That's a
know if we
thing.
have some.
Okay, that meant, yeah. Oh, and the other thing is a tree, two trees came down at, no, they were single tree, they were branched, came down on Prospect Hill, and it's sort of, there's a flare up on the neighbor's thread. I was wondering, can we leave the two stumps? Because kids are already playing on them, and they're a lot of fun because you get to jump from one to the other, and we just like leave it.
These are the two trees that were removed recently.
Yeah, I think it
Um,
was a single tree that I
Oh,
think it was a branch tree, but it's a bit, it was significant. It was,
yeah. Is
it was,
it right by a path or something?
yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna try to replant near there so I can look and see. I'm not sure, potentially. I'll have to verify with a few folks if they're okay with having the stump left there. It's on my list of planting sites, so I can definitely make a note of that. I'm just trying to make sure, think who I would need to check with. I mean, I love that kids are jumping on it. And it shouldn't be a playground issue. So I don't think it's not like an official playground where people could get hurt and there would be liability issues. So
Yeah.
it might be all right. Let me inspect. Let me
Sure.
look into it.
And so the other question is, oh, when is it going to be replaced? So it's on your radar.
Yeah,
So
fall.
fall.
Yeah.
This next fall. This fall?
Now, yeah.
Now fall. Oh,
yeah.
Gosh, I'll be making so many people happy.
Yeah, Breck knew that was going to be a tough one to remove.
Yep.
So we're getting it in there.
Okay. Right. In the updates, oh, no, we'll just go ahead. I do have a concern about Quincy Street Park, but let's put it to the next agenda next month. Unless you have an update on the planting there. No? Was there going to be some planting?
I collected your feedback from our last meeting. I didn't receive any other comments after the meeting. So Courtney, I sent those to Courtney and she gave them to the landscape architect. I don't know I'm not sure where like how the plans are being updated. I'm not sure what stage the plan update is happening. So plants are
Okay.
not going to be planted there this fall, but it's in the works still.
Okay. All right. Any other concerns? Resident concerns?
I'm
Oh, yeah.
noticing that there are 3 people still in attendee status who have joined us later. We might consider promoting them.
I have offered promotion and
Okay,
they have not
cool.
accepted.
Perfect. Thank you.
So what I would like to do now is, if it's okay with the committee, I'd like to take an agenda item out of order. Renee Scott is here. It's number 4 on the agenda, the Green Roof Ordinance, which is an ordinance that she has been working furiously on with councilors Jake Wilson and Ben Ewan Campen. Are there any objections for taking that item out of order? Okay, seeing none. So Renee, when you get settled, you can, I guess, just update us on the work that you've been doing over the summer with Jake and Ben, and we can talk about the hearing and any other updates you might have. So, and just the general overview. If you need me to jump in at any time, you know.
Okay, thank you, Tori. So starting sometime in this spring, maybe, I was working with Brendan Shea and Pete Ellis, who are both green roof experts, and with Ben Ewan Campen and Jake Wilson as the counselor sponsors, to come up with a green roof amendment. And it would be amending the landscaping section, which is escaping me the exact number of that, but it would be that section. It's not its own freestanding ordinance. Dan Bartman wrote some language. There was some original concern that it might be superseding the state building code, but the city solicitor this spring felt like it was okay. So then there was a public hearing 2 weeks ago from today, and there were, I don't know, 12 or 15, 20, I don't know, something, quite a few residents who showed up to speak favorably. Nobody spoke against it, actually. It was very, it was very upbeat. People were excited about it. And it's it's in land use. So the plan is it would be discussed in land use for the next few meetings. So another, month or 6 weeks. However, just today, apparently, we learned that the administration, some staff are concerned about it, that it is indeed now superseding the state code. And so, anyway, it's all up in the air. So it's obviously, if it's illegal to do, I don't expect it's going to be done, but it's such an important thing to start incorporating green roofs wherever we can. Obviously, we don't want to be, pushing sustainable buildings, like making them unsustainable, but it's just, I just don't think that's going to happen. I think we can work around it. The really cool thing about green roofs, they do so many beneficial things. And I think that one of the big arguments one of the things people worry about is that, it's going to take away from solar, but it doesn't have to. If you stack it, it's called a biosolar roof, where the array has vegetation under it, and it actually improves the functioning of the solar, and then it offers some shade to the plants, which is helpful. So it is really a win-win. And sorry, I'm spacing on what I was going to say next. So anyway, and the cool thing is that, solar is the technology is really quickly advancing and progressing. And it could be that in 20 years, people speculate, like they're starting to make windows that are solar panels. So we may not be having to deal with solar roofs pretty soon anyway. But green roofs are always going to provide a benefit. They're going to provide the stormwater benefit. They're cooling, especially in our hot city, carbon sequestration, and they can be ag roofs, which is great. But the coolest thing is they can be pollinator habitat, which there's this great, I was talking to this expert in Chicago, he's like, all the green roof experts I know look to this guy. And he was saying that he was on, I asked him, I mean, I'm always asking, like, how high up can pollinators go? And no one really, people just don't know. And he said, oh, well, there was this roof. It was a native meadow and on this, building in Chicago, and it was absolutely full of pollinators, and it was 23 stories up. So we're unlikely to be building much over that, right? I mean, maybe a few more towers, but so at least 23 stories is legitimate pollinator habitat. So I would just, my ask of you all as a committee is, would you consider writing a letter of support? It may be that we have to find a different way to do it. It can't happen as an amendment through zoning. I don't know. That is for people wiser than I about zoning code and state building code and stuff. But we need to find a way to incentivize green roofs, because it's just every building that goes up that doesn't have one is just a lost opportunity. And the added expense, if you are planning to do a green roof on the building before it's built, is minimal, and the benefits are enormous. So yes, retrofitting a green roof on a building that wasn't anticipating it, it's going to be more expensive. But if we know that these huge lab buildings going up, they can hold these roofs. So anyway, that is my plea to you. Tori, if you have anything to add, please do. And thank you for letting me speak.
Well, I'm curious. I'd like to take questions from the committee first, and then I can maybe add some things.
I have a few. Go ahead, Vanessa.
Just a point of order, I guess. In the training for Zoom webinar, we actually were trained on how to do this. The recommendation was to not put comments related to what we're talking about in the chat, because they have to be verbally spoken in order to be part of the open meeting law record. So if Chris and Tori, would you mind saying what you said in the chat out loud so that everyone can see and hear?
Sure.
Thank you.
So my understanding, and correct me if I'm wrong, is that this is part of our zoning code, which governs what we can build and where. And currently, you have to have some consideration for solar on a roof, and you have the option of either doing solar power or vegetated roof. And this would change to require vegetated roof and not make an exception for solar panels. Is that accurate? Okay, I'm glad we're talking.
The first thing I'd want to correct is there's no regulation for solar. There's no requirement for solar. There's only solar energy ready. That's it. Developer does not need to put solar on a roof. It just has to have the energy load equipped to have solar. So, yeah.
Okay, so right now we don't require anything. And we have the option of making that stronger. And what I'm hearing is that Renee is pushing for requiring vegetated roof, even if they choose to put solar on.
Sorry, yes, I did not explain that well. So the amendment as currently written in the draft would require, and this is MR3 commercial and high rise, so not the average, 2-family home going up, would require 80% of the space not, so I guess I'll tell the exemptions first. So mechanicals are exempt, amenity spaces would be exempt, and PV would be exempt. So I mean, I would love to see a requirement for biosolar, but as written, someone could, following this amendment, only do PV and be fine. They would not have to do green roof. So, but it's for 80% of the spaces that aren't exempt. But you could do solar instead and not have to do any green roof.
And if you were at the hearing, I'm pushing for that exemption to be changed or removed, because the whole purpose of the green roof is to get something green in. Someone might say, oh, it's cheaper if I just do a solar, so I'm going to do that. But even if they did solar, there's still going to be space around the building that would need to be vegetated. So this is something that Well, I don't want to get into the details because there's some unfortunate news. And that is that ISD does not think that this is going to be a viable ordinance. Yeah.
I just want to be sure I understood what was just said.
Yeah.
So the current ordinance is written in a way that roofs for this type of high-rise commercial building have to be solar ready, and the amendment asks for a requirement that both solar and green roofs, or just for green roofs? Or is that not clear?
So this is the green roof amendment. If you choose to put up a solar array, that would be an exemption where you would not have to be putting green roof.
Okay, thank you.
I see Chris and then Leah. I know you said you had a question.
I have a question that's probably better suited for legislative matters. If they install a green roof and they don't maintain it and it dies, what's the city's recourse?
Great question.
Thinking of those bump outs again.
This is a real concern.
Yeah.
I mean, I know it's a big concern, but I think that it's also a great opportunity to start having some green jobs programs. We have to start taking care of our green spaces, right? We just do. And I'm so afraid we keep not doing things because we're afraid they won't be taken care of. And we're never going to get a foot in and yeah, some will be built and will fail. I would be shocked if that didn't happen, but if we don't build them, they're all failing, right? So.
Leah?
Yeah, so a couple things. Yeah, I know you reached out to me about this and I was away, but I'd love to plug in and help however I can. I've worked on quite a few green roof projects from a design perspective. So I can definitely contribute, like, yeah, think through how maintenance happens, think through irrigation, think through species and different types of green roofs for different applications and considerations. But what I was going to ask was, or sorry, first thing, so the Massachusetts stretch code went into place July of this year, which is applicable in Somerville. And I was just Googling what that says about green roofs, and I haven't read fast enough to find that. But I'm so curious if you've read through that, and then curious if you've read through the Cambridge, because Cambridge has a green roof requirement. And they are also a town in Massachusetts that is applicable to the stretch code. So they've figured it out. I'm not sure if it was sort of how that worked, but as our close neighbor, I think that could be a great precedent. So I'm sure you've looked into that already. But
based ours off of theirs, and Pete Ellis, who helped with this one, worked a lot to help Cambridge. So yes, yeah, it's a mystery to me. Like Cambridge does not seem concerned about the legality of it. I mean, they don't think it's illegal.
Theirs was also in place, like their green roof requirement was in place before the stretch code went into place. So that might be just a bless of time, but
Leah,
complicated. But yeah, definitely.
Sorry, did you say stretch code? Like
yeah, stretchy.
Okay. Thank you.
And I can put a link to the chat in what I think is the right thing to link to about that. Yeah, I know enough to be dangerous, but I totally don't know all the details of what's in it.
So one thing that's in the stretch code, it says all electric buildings are not required to install on-site solar panels, but roofs must be solar ready in accordance with the base and stretch code requirements, which again is, I don't like energy load or something, maybe some other things.
Yeah, I think it's energy loaded, and then also like the roof has to be able to carry solar panels.
Okay.
Yeah, and the idea is that in recent conversations I've heard, like making it solar ready is good because sometimes when a building's going through zoning, it might be 5 years before it's actually built. And so leaving that flexibility allows them to shift to like a green roof instead of solar if the technology is advancing this fast. That might be an optimistic view, but having it solar ready allows you to like change tack. Worst case scenario is doing nothing. But having this ordinance in place would prevent that from being an option.
Prevent doing nothing from being an option.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, which I think is definitely what it should be.
Yeah. Chris?
Do green roofs sequester water? Would we consider them part of our stormwater infrastructure?
It depends on what type of green roof. So Google purple roofs, and those are ones that do both plants and have a volume for water storage. So it's sort of a different buildup of structure beneath it. But all of them do have some level of water capture, but some have like actual like almost like a soil cell on top of the roof, and then you have plants on top of that. So yeah, it's possible. It does up the building like weight. Water weighs a lot, soil weighs a lot, it all weighs a lot, but like it's important. But yeah, figuring out the best way to do that. It's good if you have storage on the top, then you can use that for irrigation, and then you're not pumping water up to the top to water your roof plants and then having to deal with it.
Yeah, I'm definitely confused as to the reasoning why. I think there's something like we're not allowed to mandate what people put on their buildings. There's just some weird thing. Like we mandate everything else. Like I don't understand the nuance. But if this is not going to be supported by, legal, then, we have to figure out a different way. And I don't know what that looks like. I don't know what that looks like currently. So
Renee,
yeah.
I'm going to put in the chat, there's a really excellent website resource. It's greenroofs.org, greenroofs with an s.org. And I recommend that. Answers a lot of questions about how much water they can hold and get out of the, anyway, all of their benefits.
Yeah, they also have a great webinar series. If you want to learn more, you can have an entire green roof career, which many people do, and they're going to make a lot of money because we're going to mandate that they build more green roofs.
So, Chris?
So I have a suggestion. I feel like there's a generic consent, like there's a generic statement that I'm hearing consensus on the committee that we agree that there ought to be more permeable space, more green space, more space for pollinators. We are 80% impermeable as a city, and the rooftops are this currently untapped resource that could, like, without exaggeration, double that. I think it's an amazing resource. I wouldn't feel as comfortable getting into like an argument with ISD about what's enforceable about a specific amendment. I would be 100% happy to collaborate on a letter for the next meeting, absolutely supporting the concept and however land use can find to get it like legal and enforceable and effective as rapidly as possible, to not do half measures, and when we know that something is right, just go for it. I would be totally comfortable with that. I'm less comfortable, I see the hesitation on the chair's face, hearing that we might be voicing support for something that another city department is saying is not legal. So I wouldn't necessarily want to be there. I'd be happy to help draft something like that. Is it timely? Are they going to be done before we? Okay,
No,
cool.
it's time.
Can I volunteer to draft that, and maybe Renee and Tori work to keep me honest on the language?
Yes,
Cool.
thank you. Thank you. Huh. Okay, we live to fight another day. Okay. Renee, anything else?
I don't think so. And I actually I'm in the middle of making my sister's birthday dinner, so I should go. But no, that's all I can think of. And
Okay.
sorry. Yeah.
Well, thank you for your work on this and continued work.
Thank you all for listening and caring. Bye.
Bye-bye. Okay. All right. Thanks everyone for indulging me that. Now I lost the agenda. So, but I believe it's updates from the city.
Correct. City tree removals is up first. Breck is not here, but he has been doing some removals, as you mentioned, Prospect Hill. Did he send out the list like a week or two ago? 25-ish trees, I think. I don't remember. I think he talked about it at the last meeting. I think it's the same list. So they're dead, dying, or otherwise hazardous trees. I don't think there was any other upcoming ones that he's dealing with that I can think of. We did have the tree hearing on August 31st for one Siberian elm tree, and there was no objections to that. It was a sort of back of sidewalk tree, so that will be removed at some point, but I don't know when. That's all I got on city tree removals. Any questions? All right. Next is Junction Park update and tree removals. I will take that as well. I do have a screen to share. So Junction Park has started construction. There was a construction meeting. I think it was in August, but probably after our other one. I sent the UFC a link to that, I'm sure. There are some tree removals, so I just wanted to make sure that is that you guys are all aware of that. They're all just the trees that aren't worth saving, some very not good looking trees, some Norway maples. I guess not all of them. The number 2 and number 3 here are actually nice trees, but they're regrading the site, and they just won't be able to survive construction. This PDF is available on the Somerville Junction Summer Voice page if anyone wants to look at it in more detail. I'm showing you this screen mostly because there's 2 trees that have been added to the removal list since the construction meeting. So I wanted to speak publicly about those. I had originally deemed this 10-inch diameter plum tree worth saving, but then afterwards realized that it had black knot fungus, which is impossible to get rid of basically. So and even if you can get rid of it on this tree, there are budding trees that have it as well. So it's a fungus that's just going to be in the area inoculating the tree. So it's in like fair minus condition right now. So we've decided that it doesn't need to stay. We can remove it and replace it with a tree that won't have black knot fungus and will be better suited to the area. The other tree, sorry, too fast, page up. Oh no, that was right. Somerville Junction Park is a very long park, if you recall, so there's like a bunch of pages here, but we did add one more tree removal here in between the trees called out 9 and 10. There's another Norway maple that's really unbalanced with basically just one long limb overhanging a property right here. It was a little bit more balanced recently, but there's some power lines back here, and we asked Eversource to trim the trees, and that one got trimmed a lot, but left one large leader. So we've decided that can go into the removals list as well. It's just a Norway maple, and it's sort of unstable, and it'll be really hard to access this area once the park is finalized. So that is the update on removals. We can talk more specifically about all the other ones if you'd like, or you can review this presentation minus my little clouds on the Summer Voice page. Questions so far?
And so I assume that with the construction, then there'll be additional trees planted. and
Yes.
that's all part of that.
Yeah, a bunch of trees. I think all are very close to all native species. A bunch of new trees, as well as other shrubs and understory plantings, really focusing on pollinator habitat as well. I'm sure there's a example. I don't know if it's on here. Probably not. This is a construction update, so they didn't have the landscape plan, but there should be a plan on the Summer Voice page as well.
So I was just trying to find the slides, and I'm on
It-
Summer Voice and just don't.
It's in, there's like meetings, I think, meeting documents,
Yes.
junction, construction kickoff slides.
August.
Small.
Yep, got it.
That was my only real update for junction. So if there's no other questions, we can move on. What is next on city updates?
Just and 77 new trees are being planted. So, okay.
Next on the agenda is private tree removal permits and exceptions. Malik, do you want to give an update on that since you're here?
Absolutely.
Yay.
Yeah, a little second here. Okay. Oh. Okay, so hello all. I have some permits that are pending issuance. So we have 13 Morgan that was an illegal tree removal. So they either needed to give me $5,000 and a complete permit application with the plan and everything. Or now they're pivoting and saying they're going to replant. So they will be under heavy scrutiny until they deliver something acceptable, tangible, and then they'll have to hold up their end of the bargain or just get fined. I legally can't fine them retroactively, but I threatened it. So if they don't do what they're supposed to, they'll be dealt with. So let's see, what else do we have? We have 136 Orchard is about to receive a permit application. A permit with a waiver. They have a catalpa tree that's leaning to an obscene degree in their owner occupants. So that will be fine for them to remove. And 487 Somerville Ave, I didn't add to the list, but I've been dealing with them over the last week. And they would like to remove their tree as well, their owner occupants. And they will be removing a tree. I'm gonna sort through their permit application. They just submitted plans today, so that will be issued. Now, let me see if there's any new exemptions. One of the trees that were on 13 Morgan was actually exempt. So that's why the number's quite low. So they just have to remove the 9-inch diameter cherry tree they removed. wasn't sure if I should add that to the list because they're gonna put it in their permit application. So that's not here as an exemption. It will go in the permit application.
So Malik, in the document, which not folder, which tab, like, are you looking at? Like, are we looking at exemptions?
Yeah, it's not up to date. It's not 100% up to date for the week. So in terms of permit applications, I don't have 487 Somerville Avenue. That's just the case that I'm currently about to issue, and then I'll be up to date when everything's all set.
Okay.
So, and then exemptions, I believe, let me go over this file and let's see, 54 Cameron is exempt. It is the 20-inch diameter tree of heaven. So they're gonna be removing that. And let's see, recently I gave an exemption to 394 McGrath Highway for a lot of shrubby invasives. Let's see, 39 Hawthorne. Let's see, 39 Hawthorne for a 25-inch cherry tree that was rotting at the base. And it was structurally precarious. And let's see, 94, 54 Cameron, and let's see. That should be the most recent ones. So I'll just update all those on the sheet, and all those details will be on there flushed out.
I have a question and a statement.
Oh, absolutely.
Statement is thank you for running over to Morgan when the chainsaws kept going and going, and I saw them taking down a big tree. I had the experience of calling ISD and saying there's a tree being taken down and there's no permit for it. What do I do? And they said, oh, that's piece off. Do you want us to transfer you? And I'm like, you are ISD. You have the stack of stop work orders. And they're like, oh, do they need to apply for a permit? And I'm like, no, I need you to go look at it. And then Malik jumped on it and it was taken care of. So thank you for that. There's just reporting, there's still a little bit of churn in the city's process for issuing stop work orders on trees that are being removed in process, and we practice, right? My question is, when I look at this sheet, later on the agenda, we're going to talk about potential amendments to the tree preservation ordinance.
Yep.
One of the questions that's going to come up is how many exemptions were issued for each of the categories. And it looks like there's just a yes or a no that there was an exemption in there.
A lot of them are health related. A lot of them are tree health related.
Okay.
And that's usually where I go for exemptions. Usually if a tree is healthy, and even if it's impacting your foundation or something, I would say put in a permit.
Okay. It's so I was looking for basically a count of how many owner occupant. I guess that's a waiver then.
Oh yeah, that's a waiver. So there's a lot of owner occupant waivers. There's a lot.
Okay. And is that the waiver eligible where it's yes or no?
Yep.
Okay, cool. Thank you. As I looked, it was about half, but I didn't bother counting because I wasn't sure if it was correct.
Yep, that is
if I was reading it correct. All right, thank you.
Yep.
Malik, yes, thank you for your heroics, and Chris for keeping everyone alert. Can you give an update on Homer?
Ooh, 5 Homer Square sizable silver maple tree was removed. So I'm currently attacking them. They've received several letters of their violation, and I'm working on fining them very soon. So we'll see how they're the first ones who are actually going to trigger fines. So we'll see how this works out. And it was pretty sizable, so I measured it at the base. So when they owe mitigation, that's the number I'm gonna use.
What, 670 caliber inches?
Yeah,
What did you
it
get?
was what, 60, almost a little over 60 inches in terms
Okay.
of what it measured at the base. So unless I get a solid number that's believable, from, you imagine a tree company came out and they quoted and they measured, because you have to measure a tree in order to pay for it to get removed.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I don't know what metrics they're using. So unless I get a very believable number that states otherwise, I'm going with that larger one. So yeah.
And are the fines different than the what they have
Mitigation?
to pay?
Yes.
Will you
And
just update the committee on that?
the fines would be $300 a day, after the first instance of fining. And that won't go into the tree fund. That just goes into where general fines go.
Yeah.
And then $600 per inch of tree removed would be the mitigation cost.
So 60 inches, for some reason I thought it was 1,000, but it's 60 inches times 6.
$36,000.
36,000.
Yeah.
Ah,
So my number has it around 38,000, so it's a little over 60.
okay.
So we'll see where that goes. I'm
Okay.
gonna keep plugging away at them.
Thank you. Thank you. Not
No
all
problem.
heroes wear capes. We'll have to get you one, Malik. Very good.
All right. It's gonna be a pretty drawn out one, but we'll see it through.
Okay. Well, let us know if you need support. Okay. Anything, sorry. Private tree removals and exemptions. Anything else, Malik?
No, nothing more of note.
Okay. Okay, now we're to the Somerville Pollinator Action Plan Advisory Committee updates. Do you want to start, Vanessa, and then Amy and I can weigh in if needs be?
Had trouble finding my screen. Sure, sounds good. Yeah, so we the RFP went out and was closed, I think a week ago or so. We received 3 bids, and the committee is reviewing the bids and weighing in on how the bids fit the what are they called, qualifications that Allison put forth in the RFP, and we were going to meet on Monday to discuss as a group. So the consultant team will be selected before our next meeting, I presume. And Tori has joined the ranks of the SPAP AC. We're catching
Yes.
up on all the learnings.
I'm catching up on the learnings. I've been watching video, but I have to, now it's like these, the evaluations are due tomorrow. So it's like, okay, stop watching video. Just read the RFP and read the, so we're reading through 3 different proposals, and it's interesting because like you can't talk about it. I can't talk to Vanessa about it. You can't talk to anybody about it. So you just sit there with the RFP, the proposal, and then we have these evaluation questions that the SPAP came up with, and yeah, it's quite a bit of work. So thank you, Amy, but no, really, thank you, because it's an embarrassment of riches right now, in my opinion. So that's what I'll be doing.
And I assume those aren't public until you pick one.
No, they are. The requests for proposals are
Not sure.
I feel like you can.
I think you can ask purchasing for that.
Well, if you go into RF, if you go into
or it could be online, yeah.
Yeah. somebody check in request for proposals in Somerville, because it'll be a closed bid, but you might be able to see the applicants. But the what was put together by the Somerville Action Plan, Somerville Pollinator Action Plan Committee was like so thorough that like we have an abundance of riches, and I don't think we could go wrong. Just it's been a very exhaustive process and fun. Well,
So the opening form is publicly available, so I can divulge who we are reviewing if you're interested.
Divulge.
So the 3 proposals are from Offshoots, GZA, Geoenvironmental, and Landscape Interactions. The rest you'll hear about next meeting.
Sweet.
Any thoughts, Amy?
No, I don't think I have anything to add to that. Sorry, I'm getting a migraine again. It just keeps happening. So
Okay.
keep it off
All
this
right.
train again.
Well, thanks for what you did for attending all those meetings.
Yeah, that was great.
Summer.
I'm very excited with the proposals we have for sure.
Okay, cool. All right. All right, I think we can move on.
Me again, Miyawaki Forest update. We talked about the Miyawaki Forest last meeting, so I don't have a ton of updates, just that the planting date is selected. So if you have not signed up to volunteer, you still can. There's time. The forest will be planted on October 21st. I think there'll be a 4 to 8 hour window. I forget exactly. We're figuring out all the details. Mostly Allison is, but it's happening, people. I'm going to submit the Summer Voice page for the Miyawaki Forest in the chat, and you can go there and sign up to volunteer if you're interested. Callie, yeah.
I just wanted to mention at the last meeting we discussed getting some of the high school students involved in like the planting. So I emailed the AP Environmental Science teacher and the Community Service Club teacher, and I gave them the like Summer Voice information on it and the sign up link. So I heard back from the environmental science teacher, and she said she would share it with her students. And I haven't heard back from the community service teacher, but she may have shared it as well.
Okay, awesome. Thank you. I'll let Allison know. And I might send Allison your contact information too, if that's okay with you.
Yeah, that's fine.
Thanks, Calla, for the liaising.
Yeah, this is awesome. It's like all the visions coming together.
I know. And we got a baseline. We got a pollinator count baseline, thanks to Amy Myrtle.
I feel like you kind of what was out there today.
Oh yeah.
Or is that what the baseline count was?
Oh yeah. So this summer, Amy worked with the Mayor's Youth Jobs Program, Climate Justice Kids, and we did surveyed insect baseline. So we have. I don't know if all the information got put into the. I might owe you some pictures, Amy.
Yeah, if you still have some, I'll take
okay.
them.
Okay. Yeah. Well, in theory, we got a baseline. But so you got some numbers, Amy, right?
Yeah, I've got other pictures of me and the student who's working with me.
Okay.
I just didn't get any that if there's some of the high school have some additional ones to add, I'd still take them.
Okay. But we know there'll be more. So thank you, Amy, and thanks. Yeah, thanks for that update. I don't think I have anything else to add. And is that before our next meeting?
Let's see.
Nope, a couple days after.
It's on a Saturday. It's right before Summer Streets. I know that. Busy
Okay.
weekend.
Yep.
Yeah, looks like we have our next meeting on the 19th, and
Yep.
that's the 21st, and then the following weekend is Summer Streets.
Yep. Oh, Summer Streets is the 23rd.
Oh, really?
22nd. Yeah.
Oh, it's on
Wow,
Sunday?
The rain date's the 29th.
look at that.
Okay. Moving along. Going on to USDA and other grants.
So Dorothy was asking about this. Dorothy, do you wanna ask some questions that I can answer, or should I try to summarize?
You can try to summarize because then I can take notes.
Okay, yeah, it's tough to talk and write at the same time. So Dorothy had reached out to ask if the city had applied for the USDA, I forget what the exact grant title was called, something like Urban Forestry Grant. There was a big push for urban forestry spending at the federal level. And so we did not, as a city, apply for one of these grants. They were, but we did sign on with the Mystic River Watershed Association. They had put in a big grant application to improve urban forestry programs around the region. So a little bit of different stuff in different cities and towns, but sort of trying to get a holistic, bring everyone up to the same level kind of grant. I thought it was a very compelling grant. It does not look like they were awarded it based on my review of the awardees list. And so there's that, but Dorothy was also curious about how grants work in general, and if how I think this was the question. Dorothy, please correct me if I'm wrong, but like, how could the city be more proactive in getting urban forestry grants?
Yes.
Okay.
Or just even how it works, because I don't even know if you're active or proactive or not active.
We're sort of on the sidelines. In general,
can I just add that, like,
oh, yeah.
this was an unprecedented amount of money. It was $400 million that went around to funds around the country, specifically for forestry, with a huge carve out for urban forests. And so I also reached out to, I'm part of the Massachusetts Healthy Soil Action Plan Implementation Committee, and I just reached out to that committee to see some members who are on a different commission that oversees it, which gets into the weeds. But that just to see, like, if the state applied, or what the, because it's the kind of thing that would be competitive if the state applied, less so if a nonprofit applies. Because most people that are applying are, covering entire states or managing huge forest tracts or something like that. So I was just trying to figure out how the city fits into these kind of things.
Well, I may not have a full answer for you then. So I wasn't sure if, when you said state in the email, if you actually meant state or city, but it sounds like you actually do mean state. So I don't have any connections at the state level. The city does apply for various grants, and we have a grants department. So PSUF in particular applies for a lot of parks grants to build parks. And there's some sort of internal funding processes like CPA, but we have to apply for that funding. That's what is the C in CPA? Something preservation. Oh man, I don't know.
Community.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Community preservation. And the A is
Act.
Act. Thank you. There's a committee that decides how the funds can be distributed. So there are sort of different pockets of money that the parks folks of PSUF tap into, and we have a grants department at the city level that helps departments apply for grants. The UFC, as a city entity, I think we've talked about this before, and now my memory is a little bit fuzzy, but it would be difficult for the UFC itself to apply for a grant, but through PSEF, we could potentially apply for some grants with the grants department to help. Generally speaking, our urban forestry program is quite well funded, especially compared to other cities in the state. And we tend to get all the money that we ask for from the city council. Our mayor and city council is very supportive of our urban forestry program. So I have applied for one DCR community and urban forestry grant a few years ago. That was to write our urban forest management plan, which we were awarded, but haven't really spearheaded any other grant opportunities because it does take a lot of effort, and we do have kind of all the money that we need for our program as is. So maybe that's a lazy answer, but that's my answer. Chris. Oh, sorry.
That's amazing. If you have all the money you need, that's like, you should like count that somewhere. I don't know. I'm like the only person in the world that says that.
Yeah.
Or the only city employee.
Yeah, the balance between staff time and money to fund projects is the thing. I would say that as we have enough funding to keep 3.5 full-time employees in PSEF flat out. And if we just had more money, we wouldn't be able to like manage the projects.
That is that's very, well said.
So I was in conversation with Rob Van Andebeel of Portico Brewing, and he has previously gotten a grant that was passed through, I think, UMass, and he expressed frustration at the amount of overhead that UMass took, where it was like funding for a bit for him and a bit for some people to do work for him and a bit for supplies to do a thing that he wanted to do in the community. And UMass wound up taking like 40% of it for administrative overhead. And his question to me was, if it was really that kind of situation where it's like, he's willing to do the work, he's willing to find the labor, he's willing to organize it, do we think that the city could be the pass-through for that kind of grant? That's the question. He asked me, I said I would ask here. I also told him to email Louisa and ask for guidance from her.
Yeah, I don't know the answer to that. Louisa might, because she actually applies for a lot of grants with parks grants, so maybe she has more of an understanding of that. If she doesn't have the answer, we could ask the grants department for sure.
Okay, yeah, I feel like he's a very active fellow in the community, and I want to use that energy if at all possible. And also, if the answer is no, I don't want to waste his time.
Yeah.
I'll reach out to Grants. That's an easy email.
Yeah.
Okay,
Chris,
great.
Is the work he wants to do like green thing related? Like, could that be a groundwork?
Yeah. I mean, there's lots of ways, and it's like cleanup and maintenance and is sort of the stuff that we're having trouble actually getting funding and staffing and discipline to do. It seemed sort of straightforward to me, and I'm just trying to find a way to support him. I'll reach out to Grants. That's a good pointer.
Okay, any other questions on this item? I don't see any hands. Did I just, sorry, here I am. Okay, moving on to, structure, co-chair and, no, urban forestry related jobs and postings.
Yeah, I pulled these up.
Okay.
And while I'm here and while we were just talking about grants, I was on the website looking at the Junction Park and noticed another announcement that the open space and recreation plan is going through an update. And that seems like something we should be getting into. Do you know about?
Well, So
Okay,
Allison's
cool.
spearheading that. She has had a lot on her
Oh,
plate,
great.
so it's just a twinkle in her eye at the moment.
Okay, awesome. Great. Well, then there's something exciting. So it got me looking at, I haven't read the open space and recreation plan that came out in 2016, but I was just scanning it and there's a lot of exciting stuff and just making me think about planning documents and how we make them alive. Anyways, we make them alive by hiring people to do cool jobs. So I scanned through the list and I found a few things. I actually saw Louisa posted this one on LinkedIn. It has very the name is ADA Field Associate. So I'm this is someone who just goes out and makes sure that the city is keeping up with ADA, which is a really cool role and great that it's being implemented. I don't know if we have one, but yeah, basically I'm looking for a civil engineer, landscape architect to go around the city and identify ways to make it more accessible. So that's great and brings up conversations we've had in the past with the mobility and access group, and how we can make trees and accessibility happen. So maybe that's something that once this person's hired, we can talk to them about the future of that. Anyways, I digress. The city of Somerville is also hiring a communications coordinator, which seems useful generally and something that touches all disciplines. And they're also hiring a community outreach coordinator, which engages with all of the ways that we engage with community engagement. Those are the ones I saw that the tree surgeon jobs are still up. So can only assume they have not been filled, or at least are not through that process, which is unfortunate. And then lots of part-time parks program type jobs. But yeah, I think that's it for the most part.
So Leah, are you suggesting that when either the mobility coordinator, or I think you said like a community or communication organizer or coordinator, and maybe that's two positions, when they're hired, that we ask them to come to a committee meeting, or are you just noting that?
I think mostly just noting. So we added this section to our
Got it.
our meeting recently because there were jobs that were posted, and we want to just make sure we're keeping an eye on what the city's hiring for. And so, personally, we can reach out to our networks, but also just sort of see how the city's evolving. So yeah, I don't think it'll be. I think it's something good to know in the collective knowledge. But if, yeah, we've had challenges in the past, getting other departments to come to this meeting, but we've also had a lot of success inviting other groups. So that could become a more regular fixture of like having guests come into our meeting just so we're increasing conversation between different departments. But yeah, definitely open to thoughts.
Vanessa, do you think like something like that would be useful, or would it work? I mean, have them talk about what they're doing and then us talk about kind of what the intersections might be with them, so that maybe what we do is more top of mind, or is that wouldn't work for whatever reason because of the way the city government works?
It definitely could be like a meet and greet. Hey, come talk to us about what you do and how we intersect. I think that's possible. One of the reasons that I chose the time for our meeting is because city staff work late on Thursdays. So this meeting overlaps with at least city hall hours. It is hard sometimes to get city staff to come out of hours, but that would not be a problem with our meeting. So I think we can definitely invite people to come say hi and tell us about their work. That'll be pretty interesting.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, which
we
reminds
can't
me,
demand it, but
yeah, but it does remind me, did we hire for those like resilience or ecological restoration position? Yeah, because it's one thing we see
that
maybe
that was a while ago. That's Allison. She's our ecological restoration planner.
Yeah. Was there another one? yeah, anyways, we should keep a better running tab of these jobs because it's hard. You get all excited and then 3 months later, you totally forget. We'll put that on the back burner for now. I'll add it to my notes.
I mean, but wouldn't it be like, I don't even know what the ecological restoration person does. I'd love to know more about what she does.
I think she did come to her first meeting, but I think that
Okay.
was before your first meeting, so that's
Mhm.
why there's no overlap. But she is the one who's spearheading our Somerville Pollinator Action Plan and the Milwaukee Forest, and she will be leading the Open Space and Recreation Plan. So right now, that's all that sort of stuff is, and some other small projects. Oh, she's also doing the 5 Palmer Community Garden expansion project. So her plate is very full. Once her plate is less full, she will have other projects just trying to improve the ecology of our city and hopefully, implement some of the pollinator action plan
And is,
plans.
can you, so she's the mystery Allison that has come up a couple of times.
Yeah.
That you guys have been talking. What's her last name?
Maurer, Maurer.
Okay, thank you.
Sorry, Dorothy, I always forget when things happened in here. Please always ask for clarification. You too, Kayla.
Okay, well, thanks for that update. UFC structure, co-chair and bylaws. Is that something one wants to touch?
Me and Jennifer Clifford, and we have not produced anything on it yet. The current thinking was that it would probably be a good idea to at least write down a little bit of a run book so we could describe how we run, as a little onboarding thing for new committee members, just to write it down and say it out loud, because it's sort of collective group knowledge, where I feel like if we had a big enough turnover, we would forget how to committee. I will continue to say that I will do that at some point when it becomes the most important thing for me. I do intend to write it.
Okay, thank you, Chris. Okay, ongoing work updates. Adopt a tree.
Yeah, I can give an update on that. I met with Amy and Jennifer yesterday, I think, very briefly, but just sort of ran down our system for this coming year. And I think the current task is basically to sort of form this committee, and I think probably have a meeting with Vanessa ahead of spring planting to see what we're going to do differently for this year, and if trees will go out. Something we were talking about is, I know this year you did a great job of tagging a lot of the trees as they were planted, and so we talked a little bit about when we would want to check back in on them. If we do have people go back out and still do a tree check-in, and sort of how will Adopt a Tree continue to evolve, and will we still go out and tag trees later in the season, or sort of how that works. And then I have in my notes that Kala and Doris are excited to join Adopt a Tree, and Doris will join in spring. So yeah, later in the fall, we should have a little planning meeting, I think. But trees are still being adopted, which is great. And Amy's still updating the map. And we've didn't have to send out that many hot weather watering emails this year, which was a blessing that it was done for us. But yeah, I think that's the quick to adopt a tree. Oh, I did say I was gonna ask one question about if we've had more people download. I think there was a way to ask the webmaster how many people downloaded the Adopt a Tree certificate. I'm curious how much that was used. If
Was
that's
I
not a,
supposed to do that? I did not do that.
oh no, I
think
think I'm asking that now.
Oh,
I don't
okay,
think I
great.
previously asked. Yeah.
Okay, I'm like, I
Um,
didn't do that.
no,
Yeah,
if
I
it's
can. I
not,
can ask.
if it's not a huge lift,
I'll ask.
it'd be, yeah, just curious to know how many people are downloading it. Doesn't hurt to keep it up, so that's fine. And then I'm gonna reach back out to Althea. I think she still has access to, she still is like the owner of our Google Drive. And so I think we want to shift that to make sure it's owned by the UFC Gmail, probably.
That's a good idea. I thought Jennifer Clifford was.
I think there was
that-
still some things she wasn't able to transfer over. So, but we can, yeah, we can chat about that. Which reminds me, did new folks get access to that since joining?
I'm not sure if I have.
And this
Who's
is a
in
mental
charge
note.
of this?
I guess it,
Actually, the Gmail.
I am. So I guess that's on me. Full circle. All right, I'm adding that to my list and then making a mental note. Chris and I, you should talk about the things that happen when new people join. And one day it will be a seamless process and everyone will have what they need.
It all comes back to onboarding and offboarding every single time.
Yep.
Mm.
Leah, can I ask a
Yes.
question?
Yes.
How are people that aren't on this committee allowed to, I don't know what you use the word, canvas or put up adopt a tree letters and whatnot?
Yeah, definitely. And I know Jennifer is no longer on the committee, but she's expressed interest in continuing to support it. Basically, anyone can join our working groups and support the effort of Adopt a Tree. Public members just cannot vote when we vote on various things. But yeah, people can definitely be what do you call ad hoc members, or people can get involved and help out with whatever they want, and we love that.
And so how do they find out about the fact that that's possible?
Come to a meeting and express interest.
Okay. What if
I
they
think
can't
is
come to the meeting, but they want to?
I think reaching out to any of us, and if there's a specific working group that they're interested in jumping in with, just connecting with the folks that are on that group. Yeah, I don't think our working group meetings are as sort of regularly scheduled. They're usually scheduled around folks' availability. But I know like frequent visitors to our meetings have been involved in working groups in the past.
I have an idea. I know the city council has like the subcommittees and who's the chair of those on the website. What if we had like a subcommittee or a working group list on our website, so at least people knew what our subcommittees were, or working groups, whatever we want to call them. I could have them all linked to Somerville UFC at Gmail, or I don't know what contact, but at least if people knew what they were called, then they could see if they might be interested. Maybe a blurb, even if everyone wants to write a little blurb about your, like 2 sentences at max about your working group. I can put it online.
Yeah, I think that's a great idea for the strongholds. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, I was just going to say that would be a great idea, because even having attended 3 or 4 meetings, I'm still a little confused about what are the working groups, what do they do, and who's in charge of what. So that would be great.
And let's definitely phrase them as working groups. Because if we were to say a subcommittee.
Yeah, they're not subcommittees.
They're not subcommittees.
Because they have no jurisdiction. Well, we have no jurisdiction, but they need to stay below quorum. So that's the other caveat. Sorry, not to cut you off, Tori. You can finish.
No, just thinking about the open meeting law procedures and everything. I mean, we could have subcommittees that we just have to, they might be for something maybe more important. I don't know what it might be.
Yeah, I think we decided to phrase it as working groups, and they're open to members of the public, and there just cannot be more than 6 members, UFC members, on a working group, if that makes sense.
And the working groups can't make any decisions as a group. Any like big things have to come to the committee to vote on.
Mhm.
And as a general concept, mostly all the like updates list of the agenda, that's pretty much the working groups. And then there's some other smaller ones like the co-chair and bylaws committee kind is Chris and Jennifer, and other ones pop up and go away. So that's the summary.
Yeah, Dorothy, I think you were on the outreach committee.
That's good to know.
Yeah, I don't know if you knew that.
I didn't actually know that, no.
But you've outreached many times, so
Yes,
you're doing the
outreach,
actions.
But I didn't know that made me part of the committee, right? Like that.
Oh yeah.
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 We should say they're not very intentionally not very scientific, so
Okay, super formal.
not super
As a-
formal.
As a small refinement, would it make sense to put the name of the person who did not dodge fast enough and agreed to be responsible for these ongoing work things in the agenda? Because I feel like just if we had like a name next to Adopt a Tree program, that would be the person on deck to have something to say about it. And that might remove a lot of confusion.
That's a great idea.
Yeah.
I might need a reminder on some of those. They've
That is the
changed
action I am
hands.
trying to spur here.
I'll take a stab, and Lan, Tori, you can tell me if I did it well at our next agenda.
Okay, you did it well, preemptively.
Mhm.
Just a second. Okay. Anything else around Adopt a Tree? Outreach, but I definitely want to get to tree preservation ordinance, right? Chris, you've been outreach. Give us an update and how much fun you
Yeah.
had this.
I think we'll go quick.
Saturday.
We had a great outreach event at Summer Streets last weekend. Dorothy and Doris and Kala and myself all went in 2 shifts. A lot of people took plants. A lot of people were very excited to talk about stuff. We got a full list, almost front and back. I don't know. Oh yeah, I have to give that to you. It's in the trunk of my car. We'll coordinate, Vanessa. And a lot of people were also very enthusiastic about invasive removal events. And so I feel like I need to figure out how to form a task force and collaborate with either other groups that do that and connect people who are interested in doing it. And then one person from the Watershed Association, I think the Mystic, who organizes a lot of those events already as well. So energy around that, which was really exciting. And a lot of enthusiasm around the Most Wanted Weeds poster revamp. So all of those flyers got picked up. I started handing out ones in Spanish and people were like, what does this say? And I was like, oh, I ran out of English. That's a great problem to have. And now I'm going to say who is available on October 21st for the next Summer Streets events so we can keep doing all these great things. I thought it was the later date, but it's actually
October 22nd. It's a Sunday.
22nd. Okay,
And
Sunday, October
rain
22nd.
date of the 29th.
Great.
I
It's from
might be
2 to 6.
available, but I will get back to you on whether or not I am.
Perfect. And this one we usually hand out candy and wear costumes.
I think I'm available. I need to double check. But it's on my
Awesome.
calendar now, so I'll remember.
Perfect. I just changed it from the incorrect date to the correct date, so we're all getting closer.
Well, now I hope it rains because I like it when it falls on
on Halloween.
It's on the Monster. Is it still going to be the Monster Mash?
It's still the Monster Mash. It's
Okay,
just
okay.
the week before Halloween.
Okay,
It's just
all
getting you in the mood.
Yeah.
So you're gonna join too, Tori?
I hope so. My health has been so precarious. Let's yes.
I'm putting you in the maybe yes.
Yes.
everyone as they're able to commit and not
Right.
overcommit.
With wings on. I just in the chat, I put the address of Green and Open Somerville. It's greenopensomerville@gmail.com. And that's Renee Scott and Lee Munier do just a lot of invasive removals.
They're on my list.
They're on your list. Okay, so
of
those
collaboration.
You can send people their way. And
perfect.
yeah. And also just to speak it, I think at some point, because we have the mayor, we have that it's going to be like, how we have the youth shoveling program, like that's on private property. I think there could be room for having like a youth invasive removal, because that would be an excellent thing to do.
That would be such an excellent idea.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
All right, let's get to
Good question. Were the plants popular? You said you gave
the
away
plants
a lot
were
of them.
popular. Yeah. People were excited. People were a little confused by switchgrass, which was surprising to me. I was like, but it's amazing. What? They're like, is this what it does? And I'm like, yeah, this is what it does. And it's great.
Yeah.
So not many takers for that one?
No, still a lot of people took it.
Okay, good.
And yeah, I have some leftovers. Oh yeah, I wanted to see if anyone else, I offered to Tori, and then I think everyone else was there for the most part. But yeah, if anyone else is interested, I have a few leftovers at my house. So I was going to split between the community garden that I'm close to, and then give some to Tori.
Yeah, I'll share whatever.
Express interest now, or wait until the next time. All right.
Okay, thank you for that. I want to let's go to, are we tree preservation?
Yeah, we can skip species.
Species, yes.
No updates.
Yeah, no updates. Although I think I'm going to submit, I did a piece for doing not a fall cleaning, doing a fall neatening. And I think I'll submit that.
I loved that.
Do you like it?
I did.
So what I'll do, I'll submit it for approval for next. If I submitted approval for next meeting and we approve it, then we can hand it out at Summer's Monster Mash.
That would be great.
Okay. All right. Chris Dwan.
All right. This is probably big for less than 10 minutes. I will introduce it. Would it be okay if I took the screen share for a sec? I will share screen.
I think I might have to make you host. Oh, you can do it? What? That's amazing.
And Chris, can you speak up, please? I'm having a hard time hearing you all of a sudden. Thank you.
Let me, is it any better?
Yes.
All right. So for more than a year, I have been promising to put together a document suggesting some changes to the tree preservation ordinance and to have conversations with folks to try to come to consensus. First off, I want to say I wrote this super aggressively under the assumption, because we always wind up doing a bunch of editing for documents. So I just went ahead and wrote something that I would pass, like right now. My intent is to talk about it until we come to consensus and edit as we go. And if that doesn't happen today, that's great. If it doesn't happen next month, that's great. I just wanted to come with my homework done and have something that if we all said, yeah, then we wouldn't have to spend a bunch of time writing sentences in front of each other to make it presentable. My intention was not to rail this through high-handedly. I was just to be prepared. So ignore then the date and the fact that we unanimously recommended this. That hasn't happened yet. The three things that have come up again and again in conversation are that Jennifer Clifford in particular spent a bunch of time thinking about the process for getting youth members in and having them be able to be effective through a sensible term. The consensus on that, so that was one thing. The second is that has created confusion in the community, is the 30-day grace period before fines start to apply for removing trees on private property without a permit. People have been confused about that. And then the third is the exemption for owner occupants. I think that those three things are entirely independent. And if we come to consensus on two, then, and the third is intractable, we can just suggest two. And I'm going to suggest to the city council, and I do in this language, that they treat them the same way, that it's not a package that all has to hang together, that these are entirely separate amendments. I would suggest maybe the useful thing to do, respecting time, is to go briefly through each of these. You all have the document in your email, and then we plan to pick it up at the next meeting and have a substantive conversation. Because I would honestly not be comfortable just ramming through something that's kind of big without people having a chance to think about it. So the term of service for youth members, the two things are to reduce the expectation to a single year. Right now, youth members have to be between 14 and 17 at the time of their appointment, and they're appointed to a 3-year term, which has literally never resulted in a person serving a 3-year term, because things change rapidly when you're a student. So the suggestion is twofold: that we reduce that to a 1-year term. We always make it start September and end August, so it's coterminous with the academic year. And we remove the requirement that they go through city council approval, which I think will speed things up remarkably. And then I just had an example language of what we would remove in red and what we would add in green to turn the current language into what I'm suggesting. I feel like that one's the least controversial out of all of them.
So does that mean that a youth could serve more than 1 year, or would that at the end of that year, like, don't go anywhere, Calla, like at the end of that year, they would need to be reconfirmed, or?
Just like all of us, there's nothing formal in the ordinance about how we get reconfirmed. So I just said I actually mentioned reappointment or reappointment. So you can't be reappointed as a youth member if you have turned 18.
Okay, I see.
Any other quick questions on that one?
Do you know if it's possible? My understanding was always that the city council, when they make a committee, like, because they created when they created this ordinance, that we have to follow the same rules as them. And I don't know, I thought that the council confirming was sort of set in stone.
I sat through a remarkably long conversation with the city council on that topic with which city staff members need to be confirmed and whether reconfirmation is a thing and so on. And it turned out my impression from that is that the city council can decide for each of these roles whether or not they think it needs their approval. That we can, I think that they can create committee memberships that they say, we trust the mayor to find the right person, and it's just the mayor's choice. Okay. Next one is this 30-day grace period. My take on this is that the reason that we had a 30-day grace period, so this is when, as happened with my neighbor, somebody goes ahead and destroys a significant tree. The tree's gone. They didn't have a permit. In the ordinance as it stands now, if a significant tree is removed without a permit, property owner must apply for a permit within 30 days. And after 30 days, that we have no ability to impose fines for that permitless removal until 30 days have passed. My take on where that came from was that it was an entirely new process that nobody had ever seen before. We didn't have when we were passing this ordinance. And there were concerns that it would be like people wouldn't know and would pile up fees because there was confusion and there was an unclear process. And my feeling is that 4 years in and hundreds of permits issued, that's no longer as much of a concern. I am very interested in thoughts from Malik and Breck on implementation wise, whether people are still like surprised and shocked that there's even this process. So that's the conversation I'm interested in, because if it was really just to prevent surprise and like a grab of fine money by the city, then that's old news. And then just respecting time, I have had a lot of conversations with a lot of residents who, when they learn that if you're an owner occupant, you can still just cut down trees and not have to plant and not have to pay. It's just something you can do because you're a property owner. People have used very colorful language with me to describe how flimsy that makes our tree protections here. Also, this was a big political necessity to get the ordinance passed in the first place. This is the one where I think whatever we recommend might still be politically untenable for the city council to remove this. Like, property owners tend to come out and vote. And so my take as a member of as just one voice on the Urban Forestry Committee is that we have all of these exemptions for hazards, for damaging private property, for invasive species. The tree warden has broad discretion to give exemptions for, give waivers for other reasons, including financial hardship. And as UFC, I want to strengthen our ordinance so we have even better protections on the trees and it's hard to cut them down. And then my take is that if the city residents and council representing them decide that they don't want that, that's okay, but at least we made the recommendation on behalf, like in our role as UFC. So I'm not sure this will actually pass, is what I'm saying. I would still recommend it because I feel like that would be right in the role that I have here. Those are the three that I wrote up because they were really clear. My question here and my ask of this group is, are there other changes that you have heard that people want that we could float? And then if a yes or no on that, I would ask each of you to take a look, think, talk to people, and then come back to in October ready to have a conversation on this.
Wow, Mr. Dwan. Throwing down. So in anticipation of a conversation on this, we would need like, I want to say like at least a half hour. Like, is this a subcommittee? Like, do we need to have our own? Is this like its own, like not working group, but like actually having it in conversation? I don't know. It's something I want to devote the right amount of time to. You know what I mean?
Somebody, if a forum of us wanted to get together for a dedicated meeting just on this, we could totally schedule a public meeting with 6 or more of us who were interested in coming back with a really clear recommendation. I don't know that there are 6 people who are interested in doing that. If there are, I'm happy to lead the conversation.
Well, I was just thinking of like like the Community Preservation Commission, not the no.
Conservation Commission.
Conservation Commission. Thank you. They started doing. They did subcommittees for like the gardens, so, like community gardens, and I'm wondering if maybe that's because they had that's decision-making power because it's under their purview in the zoning. So I don't know if that's why they had the subcommittee meetings.
The subcommittee meetings was to give more attention to the community gardens, and no decisions are made without the whole commission. So they report back to the entire commission, and it is sub quorum. And we usually just have that time dedicated to community gardens.
Oh, that's just for like to get people interested in stuff then.
And to get issues resolved. Yep.
And to get issues resolved. Yeah, yeah.
I'm not hearing a lot of enthusiasm from other members of the committee for another meeting. Tell me if I'm wrong about that.
I don't think you're wrong.
Okay. Let me suggest this.
I just want to clarify for the minutes, when you say another meeting, do you mean another meeting, as Tori suggested, of possibly 30 minutes at this meeting, or for a separate meeting? Some kind of separate meeting.
So let me suggest this. If it is below quorum, so less than 6 of us in the conversation, either all at once or serially, I will be happy to field emails and chats one-on-one. If enough people reach out to me that it makes sense to have just a working group meeting because it's below quorum, I'll organize it.
Mhm.
If 5 of you reach out to me and want to talk about this, then we have to have a meeting in public. And I will probably go back to the co-chairs and say, please block out a half hour for this. But I can just manage to keep that conversation. When the 6th person reaches out to me, I will throw up my hands and have a public meeting about it.
And regardless, our discussion in committee, when our discussion in this meeting is still going to be significant. next, like it's still going to, we'll have to set out a chunk of time, but I think, yeah, I think it makes sense to continue conversations.
That's my invitation then, is if you want to go deep on this, shoot me an email. And when the 6th person reaches out to me, I will stop that conversation because that would go above quorum, and reach out to COs or the co-chair for guidance.
For the people who aren't here, I will send an email to everyone with this information. And can you share that document with me, Chris, so I can share it with everyone?
It's the same one that actually I think that you
It's
sent
not.
out as
no, the one that you sent me before was much smaller.
Really?
Wasn't it? What I read was like much smaller, I thought. Let me double check.
No, it looks like the same one that was emailed, 3 pages with green and red.
Oh, okay, great. Well, I'll make sure you have it, Cal.
That's what I got. Thank you.
Thank you, Chris, for the work you put into that and for the robust conversations that will follow. Just wanted to acknowledge time, and it's going to propose that we approve the meetings. Well, barring a quick update, Amy, if you need anything from Somerville's Most Wanted Weeds.
Nope, you're on mute.
Sorry, I hit the wrong button. Hit the wrong button. So far we've had 8 people submit photos, so not like a huge number, but something. And I know that a bunch of flyers, like you said, were passed out Saturday, so maybe we'll get more. So the next steps will be to we'll maybe wait for a few more weeks to see if we get some more photos. I'm going to start going through iNaturalist too to find photos, Creative Commons photos for some that we don't have, and then I'll continue to work with Cal on getting a draft together. Even though it won't be on the committee, I do want to finish up that project, but that's the summary for that at the moment.
Okay, thanks, Amy. Okay, no big updates, no GLX updates. We're moving along. Okay, I would like to approve the minutes from August 17th of 2023. So could somebody please make that motion?
Motion to approve the minutes from August 17th.
Second.
Okay. People get a chance to read them. Let us do a roll call for approval. Right? Yes. Why can't I? Vanessa,
Yay.
Leah,
Yes.
Calla,
Yes.
Chris.
Yes.
No, Breck.
Abstain. I'm
Abstain.
going
Wait.
in for Breck, so I
Okay. Okay. Amy,
Approve.
Dorothy,
Approve.
Tori, amazing minutes. Approve. Okay. All right. Anything else, my colleagues? All right, let the record show at 6:38. We adjourn the meeting. Motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Second? Okay. See you soon, all lovely people.
Thanks, everyone.
Have a good
Bye,
night.
good
Thanks
night.
for all your
Everybody.
work.